Good evening. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners of the Wilmette Park District for Monday, March 10th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Leahy.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Here.
Commissioner Duffy is absent. Commissioner Koslowskis.
Here. We have a quorum.
All right.
First on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda.
I got all excited. I'm sorry. I move to approve the consent agenda of the March 10, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners, a copy of which is to be attached to and become a permanent part of the minutes of this meeting.
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion? I'll note that there were some amendments to the minutes, which I believe Michelle's corrected. We'll take a vote.
Commissioner Leahy.
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yep.
Commissioner Koslowskis.
Yes. Consent agenda approved as amended. That brings us to 3.0, communications and correspondence. Correspondence received prior to the publishing of the packet is included. Anything else commissioners have to add tonight?
Everything I received is in the packet.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4.0, public comment and recognition of visitors. Michelle, would you mind grabbing the list? If you plan to address the board this evening, we ask that you please come up to the podium and speak into the microphone. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. Executive Director Resnick will notify you when you have 1 minute remaining and when you have 30 seconds remaining, and when you're out of time by holding up a sign and giving a verbal cue. Everything said during this meeting is recorded and broadcast live on Channel 6. Please note that the full policy for public comment is printed on page 3 of your meeting packet and explains the procedures the board adheres to in order to maintain a respectful and efficient meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that we are a community of neighbors, and as such, we want our meetings to be as civil and courteous as possible. With that, I will call the first name on our sign-in sheet for public comment, Hannah Danaker.
Hi there, my name is Hannah. I'm a Wilmette resident.
Just one step closer, you'll be fine.
Sorry.
Thanks.
My name's Hannah. I'm a Wilmette resident. I've been to several of these Park District meetings, and while I'm grateful for these public sessions, I feel somewhat frustrated by what I've seen and heard. I attended a meeting in November, and the board told attendees that the matter of the South Beach would not be discussed again until January, instructing us specifically not to attend these meetings again until that time concerning the South Beach issue. Come early January, I attended the first meeting of the year to find out that the board began discussing the beach and the fence already in December, contrary to their instructions. That was deceptive. Now, the Wilmette Park District website has been updated, renaming parts of Gilson, referring to what was formerly titled South Beach as the Gilson Swimming Beach. Renaming the beach feels like another tactic to confuse and muddy the waters. The board continues to make statements that they are listening to resident feedback and are open to discussion, but that conversation sometimes feels a little performative. The board continues to entertain the idea of continuing to implement fences and fees, now suggesting not just one fence, but 2 fences. A fence, a rope, a fee, a barrier, whatever means you call it, a barrier is a barrier. We want 0 barriers, not 1, and certainly not 2. We don't just want Gilson to be free and open to all, we need this. The value of inclusive, free, and open access to natural spaces cannot be understated. It's an issue of public health. We need spaces where we can simply exist alongside one another as fellow humans without judgment and bias. I remember at the last meeting I attended, where former director Steve Wilson exited from his position, where fellow residents commended how wonderful it is to live in Wilmette, how great it is to be neighbors, and how people move to Wilmette for the schools but stay for the parks, how Wilmette is exemplary in these regards. What kind of example are we setting by putting up barriers to a natural space, one we don't own but rather have been entrusted to care for, to steward? With that kind of privilege comes enormous responsibility. Who are our neighbors, and are we treating them equitably? I'm your neighbor. You're my neighbor. Personally, I'd like to see a world where all neighbors are celebrated, and even visitors, too. That's not to say we should allow or accept negative or harmful behaviors. There are other more productive and positive ways to address this rather than cutting off access.
Time.
Thank you for your comments.
Deanna.
Brian Abbott.
Hi, guys. Most of you all know who I am. I'm not sure how many people. I used to serve on the board, as you know, for 8 years. I came off the board 4 years ago. In my time, I had a pulpit up there where I was a passionate advocate for an open lakefront, making my arguments repeatedly. And I used to have a phrase that I'd say it was a park, not a club. And there's an important distinction there. I'm not against clubs. And Westmoreland or any of these country clubs, you know, they can build all the fences they want. But because it's a park, it's not a club. And so a certain line has been crossed here by closing off South Beach. We have a private beach at Gilson. We have the sailing beach. We have a paid beach. We have a swimming beach. In my time on the board, the most important beach of all was South Beach, where you could just go down. I don't care where you were from. You could be from Glenview. You could be from Germany. You could be from China. You could go down and see your lake. It's an international body of water. There's 1,000 miles of lakefront in Lake Michigan. And the fact that the Wilmette Park District, there's irony in that, would close off their little portion of it. I don't know. It's not a security issue. When you slap a security T-shirt on one of my 16-year-old scouts and say you've done all you can do, I don't believe you. That's not all you can do. You know, and this board, the board didn't run off Holly, but Holly managed the lakefront. You don't control the lakefront, you manage it. And managing is partnering with people. And I think there's just been real mismanagement down there, and the idea that you can control what goes on. I do not believe that you have exhausted all the opportunities at your disposal for security. And I don't really want to live in a town that walls off the lakefront and makes it a pay beach. And that's all I really got to say. That kind of broke my silence. I'm talking to the board here. So I thank you for your sentiments, but I just want to talk to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Nugent.
Hi. Sorry. I'm Amanda Nugent, resident, and I'm a very close neighbor of the beach. And I walk on the beach probably over 300 days of the year. I don't own a boat. I'm not a big swimmer. We don't have little kids. I enjoy being able to access the beach by walking and by sitting. And this plan that was planned without the input of the residents puts people like me kind of out of the picture. Not to mention what other people have said for all of the visitors that come to Wilmette. I understand that there's a security issue, and I can understand that there is a garbage issue, but I don't see the increase in garbage cans. I don't see the increase in dog, baggies stands. I see simply the fence and the fees. And I think that there are other ways that you can limit the amount of trash. I think there are other ways, as the previous people have said, other ways to improve the safety. I do agree, as a strong advocate for our sustainable resources like the beach and the lake, that protecting the dunes is important. But those aren't necessarily things that have to be permanent. And there are ways to, I am grateful to see you talking about the small rope line instead of the ridiculous snow fencing. But there doesn't need to be two of them by any means. But really, I think that the idea of charging somebody to go down and sit on the beach, and, they don't charge people to sit on the beach in downtown Chicago. I have to believe that there's more people mistreating each other, or violence or drugs or whatever issues down there than there are up here, and yet nobody is fencing off the beaches of downtown Chicago. So I'd like to see there be more thought into other ways that you can help. I'd also, as a dog owner, really like to see this village address the dog owners. My dogs don't like the dog beach. It's a really aggressive place. I just want to be able to run my dogs for an hour in the morning before anybody else is there. And yet I've been cited at 7 o'clock in the morning with my friendly dogs off leash. There ought to be a way that we can do that. Central Park in New York allows people to have dogs off leash before 9 a.m. We should be able to do that too.
Thank you. Alan Donwald?
Alan Schoenwald, resident of Wilmette for 23 years. I have a possible solution. You may not like it, but where the concept of people having to either have daily passes or annual passes on the South Beach would still be maintained, but there'll be no fences and basically no guards, no cost to Wilmette. And the way we would do that is the concept generally in the U.S. is that, like in metro trains and stadiums, everybody going into the train or an event, each ticket is examined. However, my experience in Italy, this is about 4 or 5 years ago, is that on the trains, not everybody was asked to show a ticket. However, if you don't have a ticket, they do spot checking and you can get a fine. So the same concept actually in Venice on the Vaporetto, it's the same concept where they don't check everybody having a ticket every time, but they do spot checking and there are fines. So the same thing could apply to the Wilmette Beach, where you'd have to have a ticket and that you would have either police officers or people who were responsible for checking for tickets or season passes. And if they didn't have it, there would be a fine. So there would be a big sign or signs, several signs saying that you have to have a ticket. There's a place to buy the daily ticket. And if you don't have a ticket, there's a fine of $50 or something like that, a stiff fine. So that would be the concept. No fences are needed at all, and you'd only have to have one person selling a ticket instead of having 2 or 3 people, so you'd save on the labor costs. So anyway, can it work? I guess it remains to be seen, but you have to have some enforcement in order to check people with the tickets. So anyway, that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Anastasia Ryle?
Hello, I'm Anastasia Royal. Gilson Park Beach is a natural wonder. It's not a military encampment. It's not a recreational park. It's not a theme park. I do think that a lot of the things I've seen over the past year since coming to this room and to Malincrot have been done with some clever concealment and with deafness on the part of the Wilmette Park Board. That's why I'm running for the place of an incumbent here on the board. I think a lot of things that were done behind closed doors, and one of them was very egregious to all of us, which was the fencing and the constant patrolling, the constant harassment on the beach. We just want to have a place. We really need a break here. It's been a very difficult couple of years. We just want to go somewhere. In my day, we called it, when I was little, we called it Gilson State Beach Park. That's what we called it. I refused to divvy it up and call it South Beach. And this, you can do it for clarity when you're doing your administration, but it is Gilson Park Beach. I think a lot of times the people on the board don't think that we're going to notice things or care, but we do. We care. And I want to remind everybody who's listening tonight, everybody on the board, that in the first meeting that I came to in the summer, there was 3 hours plus of passionate and eloquent and very informed Wilmette residents who came and spoke in outrage about the fence and the fees, the paywall. It's all over the world, people have figured this out, and they don't talk about dune grasses being fragile and everything else. I have many solutions for how we could do this. I think the entire beachfront should be free, and you could have parking that would be paid by non-residents, and then you'd have places where residents would have also parking. All of the world they figured out, we can figure it out, and it's racist and also xenophobic to continue this sort of line of thinking. And I do have a song, and I also want to say I do not agree with what was in the packet, the email sent by the interim creative director that opposes HB 3685. Look it up. That just shows the disingenuousness. I want to read here what she said. She said, most residents strongly oppose state interference in what is fundamentally a local governance matter. Who are those most residents? I saw most residents talking about actually the tone deafness of this board. I saw most residents coming here out of their daily schedules and being passionate enough that they were almost crying.
Time.
So where do you get your data?
Thank you, Anastasia.
Where do you get your data about these residents who you said most residents about? Thank you.
Mary Thomas.
Hi, I'm Mary Thomas. I'm a 50-year resident, although you can't imagine that's true, right? I come here tonight after 10 months of attending meetings, and I'd like to say that I'm super proud of those of us that have shown up and have spoken up for something that we strongly believe in. As committed as the board is to convince us that we need to fence Gilson, we stand committed to convince you that we don't, for the many reasons that have been stated over the last 10 months. I appreciate that you've heeded our request to hold meetings to listen to the public, but in the end, you will hold the power over us on the board because you're trustees on the board. As trustees, I believe that you took these volunteer jobs to do the best job for the community, and you've seen that the strong majority of people that have shown up here have been opposed to fencing Gilson, I believe, for these two main reasons. The first being that the beach is a public space and therefore should be free to the public as it has been for 100 years, which is something we should celebrate and be proud of. The second reason is that the decision to fence Gilson came without any public input and ignored the survey of 2016 where residents said they wanted the beach to remain an open public space. I believe that is what really upset people the most. So in the way that democracy works, we have shown up here for months to speak to these issues in the hope that you, the trustees, are making decisions for the community that you see outside the windows of your home, as well as the residents that you see in this village room tonight. I saw in a previous report a comparison regarding a visit for a family of 4 to the South Beach against going to a museum or mini golf course or a movie as a bargain. Personally, I think comparing a visit to a public park with a visit to a for-profit experience at a museum or movie or mini golf venue is a terrible comparison. Many people go to a park precisely because it's free and they don't have the financial resources of many on the North Shore. Tonight, you will most likely approve the recommendations that have been made that are on your agenda. We could say that a compromise has been made by having what you call the Cove Beach become an area for people to sit without being charged a fee. Not trying to sound ungrateful, but as the saying goes, beggars can't be choosers. It feels like we kind of got what was left over. Cove Beach certainly does not give a sweeping view of the lakefront experience, and it's quite a distance from the parking on Overlook Drive. It's hard to imagine there won't be dogs running through the Cove Beach while people are trying
30
to sit
seconds.
and relax and hopefully not sit in an area where dogs have just peed. As for fees, family passes, for guests, free beach days, and other things that were suggested by us at the focus groups, how will these issues be decided? Will the public be involved in these discussions? I know that this decision to fence Gilson claims to have been made based on bad behavior during the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic years. I, for one, with over 50 years of active Gilson Beach going, have only seen a handful of bad behavior issues that have resulted in police having to show up. Yet somehow Chicago, California, and many beaches all around Lake Michigan remain free and apparently manage bad behavior while providing lifeguards and a welcoming experience for beachgoers.
Thank you, Mary.
We've been proud of Wilmette for maintaining Gilson as a free public park for all these years, and ideally I would like to see it return to that. Let's strive to be the one village that stands out on the North Shore in welcoming everyone to our public park.
Thank you, Mary. Jeff Later.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Later, and I've been fortunate enough to live in Wilmette for over 50 years, and pretty much all 50 of those years with my family enjoyed the friendly Wilmette Beach. We're so lucky, all of us, to have the beach we do. Like every beach from Evanston to at least Lake Bluff, there are lifeguards and a family-friendly atmosphere, all with some kind of fees. For at least the last 30 years, we've seen the uncontrolled growth at the park to the south get out of hand. Had action been taken sooner, all this controversy wouldn't be happening. There are a lot of people not wanting to pay to follow basic safety rules. Thanks for finally taking action. Thousands, and I mean thousands of residents and non-residents alike, have always paid annual season passes or daily fees to enjoy the family-friendly beach. Your actions as a board have zero to do with racism or elitism or some of the names I've seen called. All are welcome in Wilmette. Rational and fact-based discussion always wins and leads to good outcomes. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. Carlene McAllister.
Hi, I'm Carlene McAllister. I've lived on Wilshire Drive for more than 20 years. And like many people here, I love the lake. I'm probably there several times a week. And I am one of the people who has spoken out against the fence. And I've seen many meetings with input along the same lines. I was super excited that the board decided to have a focus group where our opinions would be gathered in a very calm, data-driven kind of a way. So I went to the group, and I've also read this report cover to cover. I'm sure you all have, and studied all the details. Here's the thing, though, I was kind of shocked because both at the start of the group and in reading this report, it's not fully reflective of what happened. I'm not saying that there is anything incorrect in here, there is not. But it took me to page 33 before I finally saw this was not intended to debate the existence of a fence. So in my particular focus group, the majority, like all but one person, expressed that they were opposed to the fence. But we were told, the staff told you, you can only comment on how the fence is to be implemented. That's it. Despite the fact that our prompt was only how to implement the fence, this focus group organization found that only 4 out of 36 speakers supported the fence. And 60% wanted the fence gone, either through some kind of managed access, like is brought up, or just completely open beach, also suggested here tonight. So this went on, everyone agrees with the gentleman previously. We should have some data to base decisions on, but people in these focus groups agreed, where is the data? There haven't been detailed reports. There's just like general hand waving about it. And so, I would hope that the board realizes the board and the staff serve the community, and it does not feel like input is being registered when the response is so far off from from the input that's provided.
30 seconds.
And it has nothing to do with civility or not civility. It's just, what are people talking about? Looking back, when I wrote an email, the response was, oh, we're going to be reevaluating. But the reevaluation was just, do you have anything else to add to the fence? That's not really reevaluating. So I'm really hoping that the board and the staff remember, you serve the community. Thanks.
Thank you. Karen Berry.
Good evening. I'm Karen Berry, a Wilmette resident. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the opportunity for me to comment. I'm going to go from the sublime to the mundane. I'm going to start with the sublime. As I was in the focus group and as I've attended many of these meetings, I've heard one point made that might not have struck me, and it had to do with the spirituality of an open beach, that it moves people's spirit. And I want to read a poem by Wendell Berry, no relation to me. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in the beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. And I just have been so moved at hearing many people come up and address what open access to that beach has done for their heart, for their spirit, for their willingness to get on with their day. And I want to speak about numbers. Statistics are predictive of probability. The proportion of people who come here month after month to advocate for an open, unguarded, ungated beach far outweighs the numbers who come to advocate for implementation of the new proposal. And I recognize there are differing viewpoints. And that said, what does it tell you? I believe that we here tonight, the majority of us here, represent a proportional ratio among voters and taxpayers in this community. I believe we need to be heeded, reinforced by the roughly 80% of respondents to the 2016 statistically significant survey who want Gilson spaces to be kept open. I want to refer to the Park District mission and vision statement. We enrich the quality of community life by promoting well-being, providing exceptional parks and facilities, and offering creative programming for people of all ages and abilities.
30
and
seconds.
When you fence or control access, you will inadvertently be excluding people who are less advantaged for one reason or another. And then finally, I would not have thought of this. I'm a little bit traumatized tonight because a week ago I took a hard encounter with asphalt. I tripped over a low wheel stop in an unlighted parking lot, and I would never have questioned the ropes, but I got to tell you, being in Gilson Park at dusk or after dark, I'm a little concerned about low ropes. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Siegel.
Hi, I'm Connie Siegel, and I just returned from a month in California, and there are no fences and no fees along the whole coastline. And there are people, though, who do have, in certain areas, have very wealthy, well-built homes. One of those that I walked right by and could lean on the seawall was one of Bill Gates's houses. And it's up to those people to make sure that nobody is trespassing. Beyond that, it's not up to the residents. And so I think this fence and fees is, I really don't know why you did it, because I can't believe it was for safety. It has hurt so many people. And right now it's lying in your hands, it seems like. We're pleading to you all to care about everybody who has come here, young, old, in between, and pleaded to give us our beautiful lakefront as it was. Because when I go to California every year for a month. I'm fortunate to be able to do that near the beach. But when I come back to Wilmette, I've always said this park district does a great job, because I think our lakefront is every bit as beautiful, if not more so, in that open area. So please, give people, everybody who's come here for so long and poured their hearts out to you, really, really give it some consideration and take down these fences. And I agree about the rope. The only place I seen a rope out there in California was because of a cliff. And it was a hemp rope that kind of blended in. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Katie, Laya, Cardi.
I'm Kathy Leah. I live on Greenleaf. I've lived in Wilmette for many decades. One of the main reasons that my husband and I chose to live in Wilmette was because of the schools and the parks. The parks are amazing. The Park District has always taken very good care, not just of the parks themselves, but of the engagement that needs to happen between the community and the government. That's all fallen apart. We live in really difficult times right now, and we see, not just locally, but regionally, nationally, government overreach. And we need to put a stop to that. We can start that in Wilmette. We can make sure that the Park District looks after Gilson Park and the lake area responsibly and fiscally responsibly as well. Any security issues that have been noted are very, very few. I've lived here a long time, and I've been following that. I had teenage kids growing up in Wilmette, so believe me, I know that there can be problems when things aren't supervised. But the problems that we've seen, the few that we have, take place in the evening when it's not supervised. And you still haven't solved that. Not that there are big problems down there, but you're using a red herring to solve a problem that doesn't exist. And we need to get back to what's important. We have a paid swimming beach. That's fine. We provide protection for kids who might not use good sense in swimming in the water. We help with activities, with concessions that are beautifully managed at the beach. We don't need to close South Beach. We don't need to be looking for money to keep people out. We need to open our beach again and be the welcoming kind of park district that we always were. And I sure hope you won't railroad this through. You've seen this response not just tonight, but for the last year and a half. And I've been coming to meetings and speaking out, and I feel like we're not being heard at all. So please take all these advice, all these comments under advisement, and listen to the community. We need to get back to doing that because your work is important. It's very important. And we trust that you will make good decisions for us to keep the beaches open. Thank you.
Paul McKinley.
Hi, my name is Paul McKinley. I'm on the ballot this upcoming April. And there's been a lot of passionate pleas already said. I would like to remind that Gilson provides a unique space. There's evidence that it provides educational benefits for children and mental health benefits for everyone with the unique combination of green and blue space. The process to make the decision with the fence ignored both the 2016 survey, which had direct resident conflict with this solution, along with the 2023 survey, which showed that the two major concerns people had were too many fees and not enough open space. I would expect a decision related to safety to come with very significant evidence. And I don't think we've seen that yet. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from, is that we do not have any statistics on what the problems were. They're ill-defined. And this solution, there might not be any problems that we know of, and this is just an overkill solution. I would like to collect that data and come up with targeted solutions to any safety issues. Other than that, I think we need to go back. I am for an open and free beach, and I think we need to go back to how it was. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail D.
Good evening, everybody. I wasn't able to stay at the last meeting, the cow meeting, because I got sick in the room. So I requested a FOIA to get the audio of the meeting because I wanted to hear about the board discussion that you had afterwards. And I didn't get it till 4:30, unfortunately. So I wasn't able to hear. I heard there was extensive conversation over different proposals to all of you that you all suggested. I was glad to hear that you're entertaining other ideas. I got involved in this even though I'm not, because I'm part of the public that loved it. I talked about how I was spiritually drawn to that area, how important it was because I'm disabled, for access. And I do want to make a point here that for those of you who aren't disabled is that I'm going to segue here through little different things. Those mats are not the answer. I mean, one of the reasons it was accessible was, like, for example, like where the chessboard area was. It was a little hop and a skip jump into the water there, right? So long accessibility mats are like good for people perhaps who are on a walker or wheelchair or something like that, but it doesn't really achieve the accessibility that the open free Gilson had. I used to buy a beach pass on occasion to swim in the main area and then go to the South Beach. I've been called a freeloader online. The reason I got involved in this was because I loved that area so much, and I was invited by the Unfenced Gilson because I have a legal background and my social media background to get involved, and I did, very much so. So a couple different things I want to say. I think that a lot of this problem, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, if there's discussion because of revenue making, but different things. I don't understand on your proposals why the Parks District is suggesting that Main Beach be different fees from the South Beach. It's sort of like a segregated area. The Cove area is like that also. It's like a little segregated area, kiddie area. It's not going to achieve a satisfactory thing. I think there's been a lot of mismanagement. The proposal that was given last March included statistics about assault and battery. I think that I disabused that thought when I got the police reports back that indicated there had been no assault and battery. But I do think, listening to this conversation from Megan last week or last month,
30 seconds.
I'm going to try to do this real quick. Is that I see that it looks like about staff convenience more than it is about the community's enjoyment of that area. I don't see more signs being suggested, more garbage cans. Why not have people fine people for entering the water and actually enforce it? If you said last spring and summer that you would entertain other ideas besides more drastic measures, and what's been proposed is even more drastic than what you had last year.
Thank you. Lee Goodman.
Thank you. A bill has been introduced into the Illinois legislature suggesting that a study group be formed so that over the next 2 years, the experts and the legislators and everyone across the state, not just this board, can talk about what really should be done. What's the best idea? The purpose stated in the bill is to look at safety, accessibility, training, and cost, which sounds to me like a great idea. Why don't we let people talk about this? Do what we've been asking you for a year, actually have an engaged conversation. And you know what? Your executive director wrote a letter to the legislature saying, no one should talk about this. No one should think about this. We shouldn't listen to anyone. And apparently the reason is because you're afraid that someone might come up with an idea which isn't the idea that you've had. It seems to me, this reminds me of the kind of conversation we sometimes had with our kids when they were growing up. Little Gilson would come up and say, I want. And we'd turn to little Gilson and say, okay, but there's other people in this family. Let's all get together and talk about what everyone wants. Maybe we can come up with some solution that suits everyone. I want. All right, but if you listen to your brother and your sister and your mother and father, maybe you'll find out that you can get what you want and we can get what we want. Maybe there's a solution. No. I'm the only one who matters. I'm the only one who has ideas. I don't want to listen to anyone else. Well, little Gilson, maybe you'll find if you listen to other people, you find out not only can you get what you want, but you can get more than you think you want because people are creative and they come up with ideas. And at some point, maybe you've had this experience. It comes into your head. What I'd really like to say to little Gilson is, it's time to grow up.
Mark Weimuller.
Hello, I'm Mark Weimuller. I like the clock. I don't know if anyone noticed this. There's a clock behind us. I don't know why it's behind us. So when I speak, I have to look at the clock because I don't want to go over the 3 minutes. I do like that you guys have the paddle here. The village board just interrupts you and goes, hey, you got 30 seconds. And so I commend you on that. So people know me. I have a Facebook page, Wilmette Connection. I've been in Wilmette about 29 years. Some people call me Mr. Wilmette because I was on the cover of Wilmette Living magazine. So I became kind of famous, although, I don't know. I just do a lot of Wilmette stuff. For instance, this Sunday, and I hope you guys promote this, is going to be the Polar Plunge at Gilson Beach. And it's going to be free. There's going to be no fence that day. But they're going to jump, mostly police and firemen, in the lake to promote Special Olympics and children's charities. So that's Sunday at noon. I expect everybody in the room, maybe the board can plunge. That would be something. So it's going to be, note laughter here. Give me 4 more seconds. Okay. So real quick comments. I speak at a lot of meetings, school boards, park boards, library boards, school boards. I advocate for lower taxes. That's the main thing. I want less spending. I was just at the budget meeting, and they were talking about all kinds of projects, redoing the lobby at one building, fixing some bookshelves, millions of dollars, ice rinks. So I just want to kind of like focus on what we're doing right now, like just running the parks. With that in mind, one of my concerns is what's going on at Howard Park. Most people don't know Howard Park is not a park. It's part of the village. So that's why they're going to take a portion of it, between 1% and 20%, to build the new, look at my clock, 113. They're going to build part of the new $62 million police station, take part of the park. I never thought Howard, we used to play softball there. I thought Howard Park was a park belonging to the park district. 1 minute remaining. And I don't want to lose Howard Park. In fact, our group's opposing the new police station, $62 million. I know it's not the park district, but they're all combined. Also, I oppose the purchase of the Beth Hillel congregation for $5.5 million. You guys might build a $60 million pool there. I understand the police station might go there for 1 year as a rental. So there's a lot going on. Let me, I got 30 seconds. I'm sorry I didn't hear a song tonight. I did like the story about Little Gilson, but I was going to attempt to do a poem here about Howard Park. So here it is. Howard Park, wherefore art thou? Where did you go? I am now a new $62 million police station. Where have all the flowers gone? Okay, I have 11 seconds. That's my whole public comment. Thank you. You can hold your applause. Mark Weimuller, thank you.
Thank you. there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening that didn't sign the sheet? Okay. Okay. There was a separate sheet, but that's okay. We'll call you in this order. Thank you. Just state your name when you come up, please. He's coming. I'm sorry.
I didn't know. Okay, I'll be brief, I think.
What's your name?
I'm Bob Kirsch. I'm at 126 Woodbine Avenue in Wilmette. And I happened to spend my afternoon watching the forum of the Women's League of Women Voters Forum, which is on YouTube and so forth. I thought it was an interesting discussion. I learned a lot. I've learned positions change among the various commissioners. Some of them are kind of born again commissioners, and others are also switching positions. So I was just amused to some degree, but then to really, given the status of our politics, I was not very amused. People are able to lie very easily, and I think one has to be aware of that. So I would conclude by saying vote on March 17th at Centennial Pool or Centennial, or wait till April 1st and vote at your precinct. I think it's a very important part. It's probably the most important thing I'll be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw another hand in the middle over here. Okay, you come up. I'll work my way across.
Good evening, everyone. Cheryl Balabin. I've lived in Wilmette most of my life, except for maybe a decade or so. Once again, here for against fences and fees. No one asked for another swimming beach. There were no frequent drownings because we didn't have an additional swimming beach, but now we have a swimming beach with no amenities. No bathroom, no water fountain, no concessions, no services, except for lifeguards, fences, and fees. I don't know why someone would go to a swimming beach that had no amenities whatsoever. And of course, as many people have spoken, this all happened without consulting the community at all. There were 7 incidents that were not reported to the police by the upset teens or young adult staff. I'm not sure that's the reason we needed a new swimming beach. And over, I know you're hearing that the community does not feel listened to. You're listening, but not answering. I applaud the conversation that you've had after these meetings, after hearing the community speak. And I appreciate some of the changes that appeared in this new version. However, there are no hours after work so that I could drive at 5 o'clock and go to the beach. I'm now going to have to wait or go to the Cove, which I thank you for the biscuit that you threw us, crowding us onto Cove with the stand-up paddle guys. Although I'm flippant in the moment, I really do appreciate the spirit of compromise and that you're trying to do something to let us know that we're not just speaking like Snoopy's, like Charlie Brown's adults, where nobody hears a thing. Thank you very much. There are new elections coming. There is a new permanent executive director to be hired. I don't know that there's any other issue that this board is faced in the last year that's getting this kind of response. The public is here for nearly a year, time after time. I know there's a lot of written communication, social media posts, focus groups, next door. People are talking about this. I don't know any other issue that's before you that gets this kind of response. And so with the new elections coming and potential new members of the board and a new executive director, I respectfully submit that these plans are tabled until the upcoming election and hiring is finished, so that there might be a more cohesive board that has a different idea that comes in. And like And the last thing I would like to say, and I sincerely mean this, is thank you so much for your service on this board. And I would also really like to turn and thank these people here for your service as a community and residents of Wilmette.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gentleman in the green, did you want to come?
Hello, my name is Jim McCarthy. I think my backstory is important to a few points. I was a police officer for about 10 years, the last 4 being here in Wilmette. I've lived in this town as a resident for 30 years now. So I have a little bit of a, background here. First of all, let's talk about this crime story that I've heard about. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry. Get something written from the police department saying what the crime rate has been going on out in Gilson Park for the last 10 years. None of this stuff of, oh, well, we've heard this, we've heard that. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. For my last 30 years, I've subscribed to the Pioneer Press, and they used to have a good crime column of what's going on in Wilmette. Never saw anything happening in the Gilson Beach at all. Second of all, what has happened, and I'm going to ask this rhetorically, and I'd like to ask each commissioner to ask themselves internally, what has happened over the last couple years that requires this? What's changed? We've had this park as it is for 100 years. There are parks up and down the Atlantic coast, the Gulf Coast, and the Pacific Coast, and all the Great Lakes that don't have supposedly our problems. So what has happened here? And just ask yourself that. What has happened over the last year or two that requires changing the structure of the park? And last but not least, are you going to do this all the other parks? I live across from Vatman Park and have been there for 30 years. You're going to start charging for all parks? Of course you're not. So just ask yourselves these questions, and now I'll shut up. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Was there anyone else on this side of the room that would like to? Okay, anyone else over here that didn't get a chance? Okay.
I do have a song.
I wish. That will close public comments this evening. Thank you all.
May I ask one question? Is there public comment after the proposal?
This was the only public comment this evening. Is there anyone else that did not address the board that would like to?
One question more.
Point of order. We're going to continue with our meeting now.
Will the board be discussing the proposal after the proposal?
We will continue on with our agenda, which is published on the front page of the packet for everyone that would like to see. Let's move to staff reports, and perhaps you can address the rest of how we'll be presenting and discussing South Beach.
So when South Beach discussion does come up, I would ask that Superintendent Merrill make the presentation, and if any board members have questions, if we could hold those to the end of the presentation, because some of the questions might be answered as he's making the presentation. Okay. And that could speed things along a little bit. Okay. In my report, probably the biggest thing is the Superintendent of Parks and Planning search. We had some fantastic applicants, and the first round of interviews have begun. So we hope to have someone in place shortly. And then Christy, Superintendent of Parks and Planning, last Friday was her last day, and her report is in the packet.
So 5.2 being written only, that takes us to 5.3, the golf report.
Good evening, everyone. We'll keep the golf report pretty brief as it is early in the season. There is a report included in your packet that provides some detail on the last couple of months. I just wanted to highlight, we're happy to report golf camp registration was underway. Most of our camping programs filled on the first day within the first hour with Wilmette residents, something that we're always very proud of. Our memberships have started to go on sale. That has been increasingly active with the warm weather we've had over the past couple of days. And The highlight to note here is that the golf course is going to open this Friday, the 14th of March, which we're really excited about. Staff's busy getting things underway, so the golf course will be ready to go. We'll start the season walking only and then wait for the grass to green up a little bit and the ground to firm up, and then start letting carts out. So we're excited to get the season going, and we'll have a more detailed report with membership, permanent tee time results, and other details at next month's meeting. Thank you.
Any questions for golf? Okay, thank you. Recreation, 5.4.
I'd like to show you something, but I got to figure out how we hit this up. No, just I want to show my screen if I can. Maybe it's on the other side.
Karen. Can you project the?
What's that? I know. But we can come back to this to add on. Oh, there we go. Excellent.
Karen, everybody.
Thank you. This will be part of the camp registration update, but you have the report. I will first say that since we last spoke, camp registration occurred. In my opinion, it was great. It went really well. All the feedback that we got from the community was it was smooth. I can talk to you a little bit about some of where we're at enrollment wise, but all in all, it was a great experience. We've got kids in camps. Some interesting stats that are in the packet, but I just kind of wanted to highlight how we're looking at enrollment statistics now. In the past, we looked at overall enrollment, total enrollment, and then as we change the way we take enrollment, those kind of numbers, as they change over years, they kind of become invalid. And we've spoken of this before. So we're really looking now at unique enrollments as our first indicator as we build out this consistent way of taking registrations. Until we can find a way to consistently take registrations where our actual overall enrollments make sense over time, we're going back to a unique enrollment. So we like to see that unique individuals are registering for camps each year. And so this year, some of the stats are in there that we are up, in 2024 on day one, we had 1,849 unique enrollments. This year it was 1,991. Our non-resident unique enrollments are also up this year. And then our to-date unique enrollments are roughly 400 behind where they are for the overall unique enrollments for the entire camp season. So we feel like we're connecting with unique users, which we're hoping means ultimately through some of our other data that we'll eventually sort through that we are finding more places for more people in our camps.
And so you expect that 400 to catch up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, last year we were on day one, we were at 1849 and we ended up at 2826.
Yeah.
There's a finite number of unique users in the community, right? But we think that number will.
And I echo, I was getting a lot of texts that day and they were all excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. We're very happy. Very happy. The whole team came together to really make that a success that day. Are there other questions in the report.
Maybe this is in your picture, but do you have a sense of the wait list status right now? And I know last year your team worked really hard to actively manage those wait lists and find camps for people that were waitlisted. Is that same process happening?
Thank you for bringing that up. So as we reported in the past, we instituted an automatic an automated wait list fulfillment system. And I think as of the report time, we had placed 197 people in a wait list through our automated system, which meant it took no effort on our staff at all to get people off their wait list and into a camp. So we are, in some of our more hands-on camps, we are making those calls and getting people placed. But the system itself is working and getting people that don't get in immediately, eventually into their camps, into their programs. And this will work from here on out for all of our programs. So we're very excited about it. But the reason I wanted to plug this in and show you, this is one of the cool tools that one of our staff members, Doug Bundy, put together for us. And we used this a little bit last year. We've kind of refined it this year. This will show you, this is the initial everything all together. So you'll see our maximum enrollment for camp is over 20,000. And that's because we have some camps that really have no limit. And it's not like a camp, but it's a service that the camp, that you could enroll in that might have a maximum of 5,000 people or whatever. But we'll get away from these numbers, which aren't really all that telling. I just wanted to show you where the number was, and this is what our baseline is. And this shows that currently we have 369 people on a wait list. Last year, I believe at this time, we were talking about numbers in the 700s to 800s. We have gotten away from that, and we've drilled down into most of our wait list to figure out that a lot of these are either ghost numbers or they're duplicates of other places, and they don't really tell a real story. There aren't actually 369 people waiting to get into something. So if just to show you an example of...
How about Great Gilson?
Great Gilson. Great choice.
Lower left.
Oh, thank you. 2 Gs. Okay, so this shows that currently we have 279 people enrolled in the 3 sections of camp. Nobody on a wait list. So this also breaks down into which session this is in. So session 1, there are 87 people out of 200 registered for Great Gilson.
How about session 3?
Session 3.
Because session 3 is the new one, right? Or am I on the wrong one?
Well, they're all, so it's 3-week sessions now. So
Section 1 is
this is the first time we've done the 3
Right.
3
Yeah, and
weeks
I'm sure we'll hear more
segments.
about that in the future. As long as you've got a cool, fun toy up. My
So
instinct is
there's
to
one
The
that...
gymnastics camp tends to sell out, right?
Coach Aves.
Find another G, easy to find.
There we go.
So that pins the needle right there.
Mhm.
For this particular camp, 27 spots, 4 people on the wait list. That's a good thing. Some of our camps that do have a wait list, it's because they might be waitlisted for something like golf, where it shows capacity, yet there's also a wait list because people want to be in week 2, but there's not capacity. There might be spots later on in the camp. But this is just something that we use to kind of monitor where we're at with our camps, what kind of promotion we need to do. We have some newer camps that we are actively promoting now. Some camps that we've had to add sections of already because of demand. One thing that we really talked about was serving teens. Last one, I promise I'll not bug you too much with these, but Summer's in camp. We have moved that to Gilson, thanks to Megan and her team for taking that on.
While you're filtering, in terms of unique enrollment, would it be safe to say that's a single household, or do you often see? Because I'm looking at 1,900 unique enrollments, and I'm thinking there's 10,000 households in Wilmette. And are we talking about 19% of Wilmette using Park District camps, roughly speaking?
These are unique individuals, so
Okay.
it wouldn't just be limited to their. I'm not sure why this is not filtering something.
Might be your bottom filter.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Peanut Gallery.
Summer's end.
So this is an example of we keep expanding our our limits on Summers Inn because there's a need. But right now we're at 166 out of 170 spots for this camp, and we're adjusting our staff as we go, and we're making plans for the summer, and we're really excited. Any other questions in the rec report? Okay.
Great to
Thank
see
you.
the tool. I love a good dashboard.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Thank you, Dave. Operations, Superintendent Thomas.
Okay. So the polar plunge was mentioned earlier today. It is on Saturday at noon. I think it was mentioned that it was Sunday. So before you head out to your St. Patrick's Day plans, yes, there will be a lot of people, including myself, jumping into Lake Michigan. I am so thrilled that it will be
and I have
60 degrees.
Yeah,
so
I can't do it this year.
yes, you have. So it'll be really fun, but it's a great community event and a great way to get out into the water a little early in the year and raise some funds for a great cause. Additionally, I really wanted to highlight the Well Met campaign that the Intergovernmental Working Group has put together. It's been spread out and shared out a lot of different ways throughout the community, but one thing that I didn't highlight in my report is how it actually connects to our comprehensive plan process. So one of the objectives within the plan states to a community-wide, the initiatives that are related to it are to evaluate and assess the current services that the Wilmette community provides related to mental health, to conduct a public relations campaign, and to create a tracking mechanism to record ongoing efforts. So although this is a collaborative effort throughout the village, I think it's an even better effort that we can show as a community for how we are all working together and through all the other different avenues of municipal agencies to provide awareness about mental health. So that's just a nice tie-in. There is a panel discussion on March 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Women's Club of Wilmette. You do not need to pay for it. It is free, but I encourage all of our residents out there and even our non-residents to attend, as it will be a great panel session. Wilmette Foundation events, just want to highlight again, we have that Coneflower Paddle Classic on April 25th and 26th, the Wilmette Open Water or WOW Swim on June 14th, and then the Back the Bull Bash on June 28th. And then some of the really most interesting data that was in my report was regarding marketing and communications and all the different analytical data that was provided. So I wanted to kind of just highlight a couple things so that we were all reading it correctly. There's two types of data that are listed in the report. One is the data from January this year to February this year. The other is data from February last year compared to February of this year. So there are some outlying events, and as we're continuing to find out the types of analytics and things that we want to report on and things that you all want to learn about, we started off with just percentages, but I really thought that the suggestion to add numbers was really great. So instead of just understanding that we are up 65%, which is already a large number, it's up by over 30,000 views for our total views on our social media site. So that number is just impactful in itself. 65 says one thing, 30,000 says a whole other thing. So something neat to highlight there. Some of the decreased numbers that you'll see from February last year to February this year have an outlier of a reason. So if we all remember February 6th of last year when our camp website crashed during registration, that drew a lot of people out to our website, a lot of people out to our social media pages, and it was an outlier for that month. However, it shows a huge decrease from last year February to this year February because our website did not crash this year and our summer camp registration went really, really well. So as we go about tracking data and trying to figure out what's important, we're also going to be tracking large events like that might have an impact from year to year. We already know one that's coming up for next month was the release of the North Shore Trail information that drew people to our website even more so than the previous month. So instead of reporting every single month, we're probably going to report quarterly or biannually, whichever you may prefer, as we feel like it'll have a more impactful story to tell as a couple more months go by and we can report all that data. But some really interesting things in there to relate. Other than that, we've had, 64,000 people visited our website last month. That's amazing. I love that. And then sustainability, we are collecting all the things that are sustainable toilet paper and paper towel rolls. So if anybody has any out there, we'd like to drop them off at admin. They'll be used for our special event at Earth Day at K coming up on April 19th. So we have a lot of good sustainability events coming up, and we're excited about those. So any questions about anything else?
Appreciate the content this month.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Superintendent Foy with the finance report.
Hi. So I'll start with results. The results from January of 25 show a $2.4 million surplus versus a $2.1 million budget. The variances between those three are two areas that are timing. One is related to ICE and performing arts, daily passes. And fitness, it is a permanent. They did really well selling daily passes in January. All right, so that was pretty good. The operating surplus for 2024 is going to be really close to 6.6 million. It's like 5.59 some amount. And this is barring any unforeseen surprises from audit. So audit finished up with us last week, and I'm not seeing anything that would materially change that number. As soon as I know if there's any different thing, I'll let you know. Our full year loss or deficit is expected to be about $830,000 versus the $4.6 million budgeted loss for last year. Okay. Capital spending for 2024 is going to be $11,416,603, and year-to-date spending for capital in 2025 is $143,000. The details for all of those projects are attached to the my report. Anybody have any questions about the financials? Okay. So January and February, Finance spent a lot of time gathering all the evidence that was requested from the auditors. They came into our offices for field work on March 3rd. They are usually in the offices between 3 and 5 days. This year they were in for 1 day, and they did the rest of the audit remotely. Haven't heard any questions or any other things that they're looking for. I am anticipating a draft to review the beginning of April so that we will be on target to make sure that you see the final draft for the cow, I believe, in May, so we can approve it in June.
Since they were so fast, do we get a discount?
Sorry, you know, it's really funny. On a side note, tomorrow we're going to bid for our electric commodity. We signed a 1-year contract with NYMEC last year. It's up in May. It's like a big group bid, and the bid is going to happen tomorrow. I wasn't really sure about the bid, so I talked to 3 other firms that we've done business with in the past, and I have their bids to see how NYMEC sets, how they look, how the bids come in tomorrow. When I know, I'll let you guys know what we're going to do. We also contributed to our first annual report, the financial information that we're using for this annual report. I don't know why I'm so excited about this thing, but I really am. I think it's going to be a great little slick that kind of talks about the district in a few pages. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. We are in the process of updating our procurement policy to add some sustainability wording and to fix some other things in the policy as it's written. I'm not sure when we're going to be ready to have you guys see it, but it'll be for a committee of the whole. It'll be either this month or next month, okay? We've contracted with E4 to find us a solar project. We've talked about this. We signed the consulting agreement with them. I think they have found us a project. So we're in the process of reviewing documents to see how that comes along. Their legal department, our legal department, we'll have some more information probably in the next week or so. And on a more somber note, I'm sad to announce that our accounting manager is retiring and moving out of the area. Lisa Phillips has been with us since April of 2021 and has been an integral part of the success of our group. Lisa's last day is on March 31st. She will be really missed. We are currently working with HR to find a replacement. And the customer service has been cut a little bit. IT has provided their updates. That's in the report. The thing that Bill was really kind of, excited about was that the system worked as intended technologically with our camp registration, and he was super happy. So I just wanted to bring that up here in the meeting. And that's it. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
No. Well, just the comments. We usually answer at some point.
Okay, that concludes staff reports. Before we go into unfinished business, we'll take a moment and address any of the questions that we can from the public comment. Go
Yeah, so
ahead,
Commissioner
Murdock.
Duffy usually takes a list of any questions that were asked during the public comment and tries to address them. I will do my best. The first one, I don't necessarily have an answer to, though. Danica,
But to be clear, you are speaking for yourself and not the board to answer the questions, right?
No, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Just, but
Yes.
we've tried to.
Oh, I know,
put
just
information
generally
back. Yeah, absolutely.
speaking, yeah.
So Hannah had asked, has South Beach been renamed? And I don't have the answer to that. I think, I have never heard any reference to South Beach being named differently. So I think it was just, so to my knowledge, South Beach has not been renamed. Let's see, Paul McKinley asked about the statistics, and I believe Dave provided a significant number of statistics at the December Committee of the Whole meeting. Gail D. asked, why are there different fees at the main beach versus South Beach? And I think Cheryl, when she spoke, had noted that there are different services at the main beach and the South Beach, and I think that was at least one of the reasons that the staff had given us with the proposal at last year. And then I think Jim McCarthy asked a rhetorical question. So there were fewer questions this time than most, but generally we've tried to, when people come and they ask questions at some point in the meeting, we try to answer them. And so I was trying to continue that tradition.
Thank you.
Sure.
Moving on to 6.0 unfinished business. Who's presenting? Superintendent Merrill?
I'm sorry?
Our Superintendent Merrill, are you
Yes.
presenting the proposed lakefront plan?
So tonight represents our next stop on this process of operations at Gilson at the beach. So we spent some time talking at our last meeting. We listened. We've been listening to the comments and concerns of everyone. And I think we've put together a really solid plan that keeps us moving forward, but it also addresses a lot of those suggestions and concerns that the public and commissioners have made along the way. So we won't go into the overall details line by line again of the plan, but I do want to highlight some of the changes, some of the updates that we've made since we last talked. Talking about operational hours, we looked at our neighbors, we looked at other communities. We were offering 11 hours a day of beach operational hours, and we decided to pull back and not open the beach until 10 a.m. The thought behind that was that it offers another free hour of beach time in the morning. Over the course of the season, that's 102 extra hours that someone can be on the beach for free, enjoying the beach. We discussed the decision whether or not to continue our operational hours until 8 p.m. or to roll them back to 7. And after well thought out conversation, we decided to leave our operational hours at 8. That we would maintain lifeguards until 8 p.m. All of our normal services would happen up until 8 p.m. It seemed like a smooth or smart move from our standpoint, from a management standpoint and from safety, and just to continue to provide those services for the community into the day. The next topic of discussion was the barriers that we were going to use to manage access. We are proposing to continue the beach fence on the beach side of the dune. We want to use as little fencing as possible. We're keeping the openings as wide as we possibly can to allow big access, or a wide access for people to access the beach, for it to be easy to find the beach exits when you are on the beach side, and then to provide those views from the benches that are already there for people to be able to see onto the beach unobstructed by anything else. We listened to comments about wanting to make sure that there was still a cool spot where people could hang hammocks and they could be in the shade, and we were going to reconfigure the fence line in some of the dune areas, or not the dune areas, but some of the wooded areas that would allow some shade and some coverage. We want to be very sensitive about not putting up any more of this fence than we really have to. We don't love the idea of this fence being there. We don't love the idea of the way it looks, but that's the place that we're at right now in this plan in order to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish at the lakefront. The post and rope was another hotly discussed item. And we put our heads together and we did some research and we figured out what some of our options are. And we understand the idea that we're not ready for something permanent there. And we appreciate those comments and suggestions. And it allowed us to come back and kind of rethink the way we're going to process this. Our parks and planning staff know that they can take materials and they can produce a very appropriate looking post and rope fence that will be permanent enough to be stable throughout the season, but removable if we want to move it somewhere else, or it can be taken down at the end of the season also. It's not the easiest bit of labor to get this stuff into the ground, but again, it's not a permanent thing. The plan eventually is to keep people off the dunes, keep them from walking in and out of the dunes, and continue to see the growth of the dunes where the dune itself can be the natural barrier that creates pathways where the foot traffic shows people where to get on and off the beach. Perhaps in the future, the beach fence doesn't have to be there, depending on how we end up feeling about this post and rope as we move forward, whether or not that becomes a permanent fixture or not remains to be seen. This is just where we're at right now with these plans. So that's our post and rope and fence situation. And then we looked into access, and we looked into free access, and we looked into the activity beach, the cove that we call it. And as we started talking, it made sense to us at this time to combine those two spaces, to use that space next to the dog beach. We listened to concerns about having activity next to the dog beach. And if the concern is dogs interacting with anyone over there, then we would be right back where we were last year, where we had a beach that didn't have anything going on at it, which we don't want that either. So something has to live next to the dog beach. Our trail-in process would be people that are approved users. They have a boat. They've registered with us. They trail in, or they use one of the racks that we'll be providing down there for 30 additional SUP users. That will be their access point where they can hang out when they're not on their boat. But this is also the free space where the public can come down. They don't have to register. They don't need a wristband. They can just come and be on the beach. This area of the beach is no swimming. The only reason someone really should be in the water beyond the water line is because they have a Coast Guard life vest on and they're there to get on their paddleboard or their kayak. We're managing dog beach action, we're managing stand-up paddleboarders, and we're managing anybody else that might want to be there with free access. We're prepared to deal with whatever comes our way. We understand that this is our approach right now, and as we learn and as we move through this process, we'll make adjustments. We plan on adding extra staff down there to manage this activity area, to communicate positively what the rules are, what the expectations are, what people are allowed and to do and not to do. We will do a better job of communicating with our staff who are at the dog beach about the expectations of dog owners and how to manage their dogs when they're off the leash within this area of the park. This is really a really well thought out plan on our part. Our staff we really bounced off all the things about this that we don't love, that we know that we're going to have to actively manage, but we're prepared to do that. And then combining these two felt like it was an opportunity for us to serve two needs at the same time. That pretty much encompasses the major changes that we're making at South Beach this year. I know we had some questions about the budget related to how this was all going to play out. The budget was approved and based upon last year's numbers. And I have some stats if we want to get into the numbers of the budget a little bit. We did start tracking access at South Beach for the first time, so this was brand new data for us. We saw somewhat of a decline in revenue, which means it might translate into a little less traffic at the main beach. We didn't drop revenue, but it didn't increase as much as it typically had over time. So our thoughts were that some people were going from the main beach down to the South Beach. The additional expenses to implement some of the changes that we're making this year, which would include another set of fencing that we're doing most of the work in-house, a new Moby mat, which is about $10,000. The additional mobility mat is above and beyond what we are required to do by the ADA, but it just feels like the right thing to do. We're getting another beach wheelchair down there so we can get people on and off the beach, or they can check that out and use that if they need to. So there's some hard costs to this year's operational plan that will serve us through the rest of the year, or the rest of the next coming few years. The remaining cost of this $45,000 additional fee is the additional staff at the Cove. Just more hours, more people down there. So there were some questions raised about is South Beach a cash cow? Like, this was that was never the purpose of this. It was never intended to be a huge windfall for the park district. And anytime that we do end up with a net surplus revenue, we take that money and we put it back into the parks, whether it's our capital plan or it's our operating plan. In 2024, we had realized a net revenue of $118,000 through that segment of our operation down there. Meanwhile, keep in mind that a lot of our operations at the lakefront kind of intertwine between different areas of our budgets, different GLs, and it gets a little convoluted. But we're trying to isolate this stuff a little bit more. So when we do have questions and people do want these types of answers, that we're able to provide a little bit more clarity to that. But moving into 2025, we didn't budget based on more attendance. We budgeted everything based on everything being the same as last year, with a modest 3% increase, because that was kind of our the way we went about approaching things. This $45,000 represents a 5% increase in what our expenses were compared to last year. So that's going to bump up our expenses a little bit. Our projected revenue for the 2025 budget was roughly $140,000. So when you subtract this unexpected or unbudgeted expense of putting this operational plan into place, that brings our net revenue for the South Beach operation to around $94,000, which in terms of the overall park district and the type of revenues that we generate in our areas is not anomalous, and it is not a cash cow. And that money goes right back into our people, and it goes right back into our facilities and our programs. We feel good about this plan. We feel good about the way we're operationalizing it in our mind. And we feel good about the way the public is going to respond to this when they get back out on the beach and they feel what it's like to be out there again. So with that, I offer, myself, and I know our staff is here willing to answer questions and concerns that you may have. But at the end of this, we're just asking for your support to proceed with this proposed plan, knowing that as we go, we're going to have to maybe make some changes and some adjustments. And as that is relevant to you and to the public, we will certainly communicate that to and with you. So if you have questions now, I'm happy to answer them. If you have a discussion and need answers, I'll be right back there.
Thank you. Why don't you stay close?
Sure.
Commissioners, do we have questions? Do you want to start discussing, or do you want to ask any specific questions right now?
I do have a quick question. I don't know, but because I noticed on the section on user identification materials, I know they're having wristbands for identification. And then Main Beach users who wish to relocate to South Beach will need to have a South Beach wristband. always even at the main swing beach, daily, people pay daily had a wristband, but people with season pass did not, and never needed one. You just walked in, walked out. Will that be the same at South Beach, or will season pass holders have to have a wristband?
So we're not interested in wristbanding any more people than we have to. People that are on the main beach, if they're there and they're not leaving the main beach, they don't have a wristband on, they're fine. If they do want to go to South Beach and take up, they want to move their encampment down to South Beach, we're going to ask them, they'll just be able to go to the beach house and get a wristband, or possibly, I don't want to put tasks on our staff yet, but possibly get one from the attendant that works between the two beaches. But if they want to get to South Beach and not be asked by our staff if they've paid or not, they'll have the opportunity to get a wristband to show that they have access to South Beach also, if that answers your question.
But that's if like someone with a beach pass just didn't want to go in the main, but it just went into the South. South Beach.
They can swipe
just
in.
Walk in. Then they're not going to need a wristband.
If they're going to South Beach specifically, they'll swipe in. We'll check their ID, and they'll get a wristband for South Beach. Right. The idea is to make it clear that they have access to the beach, and that we don't have to ask them where their wristband is.
Because again, I'm just kind of saying that was season pass holders going to the main swing beach. I mean, you end up walking out to the concession, walking back. You don't show your pass every time, and you don't have a wristband on. So it seems to be a different operational.
It is.
Okay.
It is. Slightly.
I'm just raising that point. Okay.
I think having some history is always really helpful. So the rationale behind why we decided to not make it one big beach and why we chose to, for the purposes of differentiation, Gilson and South Beach. Can you talk us through again how we reached that decision that is helping inform this plan today?
I could start.
Sure.
Well, I remember really specifically that discussion and some concern about cannibalizing the emphasis on the pricing at South Beach was that it had to be the lowest cost beach around. And I remember making that point several times. And $10 remains the most affordable paid beach around, especially when you consider that our neighbors to the north don't even allow non-resident day passes. So that it was done in a vacuum with in like just looking at that space and understanding the change. Because I remember making that point. And then we kind of said, and I remember saying this, it wasn't an economic decision, and we were going to take the chance that you would see this shift in users. And so when the data started to come out that we weren't actually seeing that people at the main beach were enjoying the amenities and seemingly willing to pay for them, again, we're still collecting data, and people were using the South Beach area at $5 and $10 and with some regularity, it was surprising. And it's not a profit center, and it's gonna see some changes over time. But it doesn't seem logical, but for some reason it's working.
Thank you.
Sorry to jump in, but I just remember making that point.
I'm asking a leading question because I think that sometimes questions are asked that have been answered along the way, but it's easy with months having passed to forget why we came to this decision in the first place. And maybe it would be helpful to have Megan come up as well, just to describe questions about number of police calls, things like that. This information has been discussed in the past. We don't state it up front every meeting that we have. Having a centralized place for us to all access that information, I think, was really helpful. And now I think it was the December meeting. Mm-hmm. We have all that information right there. So I don't want to brush over that and say that these decisions were made just in a vacuum or behind closed doors. It has been done in a public setting. The information is all out there. And a phone call, no, does not mean that there was a crime that caused a person to be imprisoned, but a phone call is still a harassment of a patron or a staff. And that is still documented in the information that we have. Am I correct in saying that? Okay.
And I think we made this point earlier today. I think we're at 24 meetings.
Right. 24 meetings
I have to look
discussed it.
again, no quote me, but I mean, we've talked about this over 24 times.
So I would always like to have clarity in how we're getting to this. And in the different lenses that I take, I view it from a mom of little children. I view it from my lens as a user with children I hope to employ there one day. I view it from my mom who does have mobility issues in accessing the beach. I see the 4 points that you used in the last report I found really helpful in thinking through it. The one that I was disappointed to not see on here were the age. So I'd love to hear your thoughts behind that. I am still very much in favor of having 5 and under free. I think in the committee of the whole, I made the joke, but it's an easy age at 5. If they're missing teeth, they're over 5. Anyone under that, I think should be able to access our beach for free. I think 55 and above, I understand it's a $35 pass. That's a $35 fee that a senior on a very fixed income would maybe be able to spend at an art class at Mallinckrodt instead. So I am curious how that was decided to leave those 2 groups as it was.
Both of those suggestions, the lower range and the upper range, have been things that we talked about. We talked about the implication of changing the age at South Beach or at the beach to be 3 and up, or 3 and under be free. But then that was contrary to some of our other procedures at other facilities. It's a great idea, and yours is taking it to the next step of, teeth or not. It's something that we want to look at and decide, overall the entire district, is that the path we want to go down? And so in my eyes, and I think in our team's eyes, is we want to get this plan off and going, and then we can come back and look at some of these softer concepts. I've mentioned in the past wanting to do a more holistic active adult program that would address either the age of the access of people in the community, how they can roll a lot of our activities into a bigger package that might be senior discounts, it might be different age access points, but all stuff that we are absolutely talking about and considering. We can't do it all at once. And so it might not start with this plan, it might start somewhere else, and then by the next cycle that we come around to this, then those changes could be realized.
So what I'm hearing you say is that this is a working document and that we're trying to receive feedback from our residents to make this an active document that we can address as needed, to change as needed. Not that members of the board are changing their opinions on stances, but that we are actively trying to work with our staff and our public to address the issues at hand.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
And I do want to come back to your question. You were talking about police activity and those types of reports. And, the criticism that we had gotten is that our data was sketchy, and that's fair. We went to seek data that other people collected, and we found ways to apply it to our situation because we do know that data is important. And the data that the police collect probably works well for them. It doesn't necessarily translate to, hey, let's take this data and apply it directly to our operations here. So we have to kind of distill the data and figure out what it really means to us, which that can be interpreted. And we did our best to interpret it in a way that made sense to our operation. What it's taught us is that we want to work proactively this year to make sure that we are tracking data that's relevant to us. We haven't kind of walked this around with the police yet, but we're about to have our next big public partner meeting as we prepare for July 3rd, where we're going to talk to the village, we're going to talk to the police, and this is where we kind of want to introduce the idea of letting them know what we're looking for and what types of are like key indicators for us, and how what they're doing can provide that information for us. Like, we're not going to ask the police to do more reports for us, but our staff has intentionally already created documentation to where we're going to be able to document some of these softer things. Like, not everything that's bad that you experience in public is a crime by any means, but it can sure make your experience a lot worse. So we want to do things to make sure that that experience is positive. If we encounter something that would never rise to the occasion of someone calling the police, which seems like an extreme response to a situation, if we can document that, hey, our supervisor intervened, our beach patrol, talked to a person, if that's valuable enough for us to pinpoint at that point, then we will, and we'll look at that stuff at the end of the year, and then we'll be able to make these decisions as we move forward, and categorize them and understand what they are versus, was this a battery or not? Did someone get arrested? Likely not. Like, our police do such a good job of public interaction that they diffuse a situation and people don't have to go to jail to resolve a situation. And our staff is capable of talking to people to make sure that they understand the rules and they have choices and what their next step is and how their behavior, they can change their behavior and stay in the moment without it being
Dave, I'm going to
something.
jump in on this.
Sorry.
So there's a couple of different levels. There's something that is behavior not appropriate in the public space that might be a staff matter. Please don't do that. You can't do that. Okay. Or they don't listen and they need to bring in a supervisor and they need to have more discussions. That's different than a police call. So we've got category 1 of soft infractions, then we have maybe a police call, and then we have police arrests. And we know, because we've all looked at the data that has been FOIA'd and shared back, there were many calls, there were fewer arrests, and often the Park District does not press charges because the matter is resolved relatively amicably, sometimes even because the officer arrived on scene. So I just want to be clear, we have no issues with the data the police has captured. We do understand there are maybe additional sort of soft infractions. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I want to be clear, I trust any public body that's gathering the data for different means. The second piece I want to return to is what Commissioner Frazier proposed a couple of minutes ago, which is the senior summer pass for residents is very reasonable. I think the non-resident pass is reasonable too and acknowledges the taxes that residents pay and non-residents may not. Even still, I think it's worth the staff evaluating how many seniors might take advantage of a free pass. A $36 pass to me feels like something that would be a huge step toward goodwill if we were to comp it if they can demonstrate they are a resident. I feel that that's reasonable. There might be another measure that's reasonable for a non-resident to receive a discount. But I feel like that's an easy bridge to cross. And as I observed last summer, you and the staff, Megan and others, continued to make adjustments. There were several different times we heard feedback, we adjusted, we saw your team respond. So even though I know you're saying we'll look at this one in the future, I feel like this is an easy W to give.
So I think that this plan captures my interests of, and we talked about this for 2.5 hours, 3 hours a couple weeks ago, and there's countless of hours that have gone into this. Optionality, right? We can change things, we can look at things, we can continue data collection. There's a perception that we didn't have the right data, but now we are going to keep it and a fire hose of information. And the lack of permanence, right? And that's part optionality. But when we were talking about kind of posts before, I thought that was an important part that in order to be convincing that we had optionality, the lack of permanence had to be there, right? And I think it's reflective of public input. I really do. I think staff input, board input. I support this. I don't agree with all of it. We've talked about that. There's a lot of elements I disagree with about a lot of this, but I think this is a plan reflective of a lot of work and a path forward that can change. So
I would echo those comments. I had a couple of questions. Obviously, I'm happy to hear that there will be some free open beach space at the Cove. I'm happy to see that the hours of operation were pushed back to 10 o'clock in the morning. Did you consider a twilight rate at 6 o'clock or not charging at 7 o'clock or anything along those lines? Can you just talk through a little bit about some of those considerations?
We are still considering those, but those are so operational that our staff needs to be the ones to kind of figure most of that out. Kara brought a suggestion about doing library passes. That program exists in Glencoe. Connor came to our team with that idea already in his head. So it exists, and he's working on it, and that's one that's going to come to fruition. It's a great example of
allowing someone to check out a pass at the library, just for those who may not have heard that detail in the last meeting. So I appreciate you looking into it.
We want people to go to the beach.
Yeah,
Like, we want them to go. We want them to have an excellent experience. And we're still finding those ways along the way to make that easier for everybody.
And then the other question, the red fence is obviously emotional for a lot of folks, and I understand the plan is we're going to have a fairly minimalist rope fence on the sidewalk where the red fence was last year. The plan is to put a red fence on the beach side. Did you consider a rope fence on the beach side? Can you kind of talk us through that thought process and whether it might be possible to do something less substantial either now or at some point in the future?
We need to still get to the point where we know that everyone at the beach is on the same page in terms of how we're going to treat the beach and how we're going to get on and off of the beach. As much as it would be great, again, the plan ultimately is to have nothing there, and people just respect the wishes, and you walk down a certain path, and you pay your fee or you show your pass or whatever the concept may be. The rope fence on the beach side seemed a little bit too much of a passive approach there. We already have the beach fence, the slat fence that no one loves. So we're going to implement that another season and see how effective it is by moving it there.
We do use it at Gilson as well.
Right. Yeah, and it's been there for several years, and it starts to disappear into people's minds. And that's not what our intent is, but it can disappear into the landscape. But putting it on that side of the fence now creates, when people do hop over the fence or they damage the fence, like, it's right there in the public eye. Our staff will be able to patrol the beach and the fence, whereas last year it was out on Harbor Drive where we had to patrol that area and we had to patrol this area. I think our head was in the right space in putting it there to keep it off the beach, but it wasn't. It just wasn't the right move. And so this year we're going to try a similar structure in a different location, and we're going to see how it works for us.
I appreciate that you mentioned wider access points to really make sure that we don't have benches staring into those fences again, too.
And sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but more benches. Like, we're going to put additional benches in those openings so you can be on the bench, on the beach, and not at the cove if that's not your cup of tea. So you'll be able to sit in that entry area and still sit on the beach and read your book and hang out after your walk or whatever.
I think that is an important thing to remember, given that someone pointed out during public comment that parking to get to the cove is a little bit of a farther walk. And so I believe, was it 15 benches you said you're adding brand new this year?
5 new benches.
5 new benches.
But it'll open up, when we open up these openings, it'll open up 12 other benches that have views of the beach.
So those will all be free without requiring to purchase a pass to get to those benches, and very close to the parking for those that don't want to go to the cove.
Right.
I had a couple questions. Just, do we have a sense of, for the trail-ins, now that we're going to share that space, from previous summers, how many trail-ins do you see on a typical weekday, and then maybe for a weekend? I'm just trying to get a picture in my mind of their frequency of watercrafts on that now peaceful stretch of beach.
So in 2024, I believe it was 120 or 10 trailing passes that we sold in total. Now, any given day, we probably saw maybe 6 to 10 people at most on any given day. It's fairly sporadic, and some people utilize their trailing permit early in the morning before a lot of the busy season, or even before our operating hours require it for the entirety of that summer season. So there are a good amount of our trailing users who come specifically very early in the morning, so we don't even are able to capture that. So we don't anticipate there being a gross number of people trying to utilize that coast at the same time.
I just want to ask Megan if you could come to the microphone and repeat what you just said, because that's not recorded.
I remember what I just said.
So in 2024, we sold about 120 season trail-in passes. We only sell them as a season pass, and we do require that for the entirety of the summer season within our operating hours and outside of that. So the vast majority of people, I will say, that are trail-in users generally come early in the morning to utilize their vessels, so we don't capture those numbers. On a regular day, busy day, I would say anywhere from 6 to 10 users of that trail-in permit at any given time. So we don't anticipate a gross number of people utilizing the cove at the same time to utilize their trail and vessels. And even if they all did at once, it would be about 120. Potentially.
To access the cove area, I stand-up paddleboard, people would park, I guess, along Harbor Drive and walk. How about other craft? I mean, how would they get into the water? And I may be, this is perhaps ignorance because I'm not a boater, but the people who have the trail and permits, what type of crafts, other than stand-up paddleboard, what type of crafts do they use? I assume kayaks would be one.
Correct, yes. So the only vessels that are able to utilize the trail and permit are paddleboards and kayaks. We don't allow any motorized vehicles. We don't allow any canoes or anything larger than those two vessels.
So for kayaks, again, would they carry them, or how? Because kayaks are a little bit heavier, but how to get, would they park at Harbor Drive and then have to carry the kayak to this?
Yes. So they would have to carry it down there. They do offer some wheel vessels that we see a lot of users use. A lot of our trail-in people generally drive down on their bikes, and they have a little trailer behind it. So there are wheels that can help them get that to that point.
Okay.
It's me and my minivan.
No, I did have a friend of mine,
Joe, he has a minivan.
Being out Rhode Island, going to the lake with a kayak. He had it on his roof of his minivan, and, it was fairly.
I think I've seen 3 other people.
Is there a reason that we don't sell daily trail-in passes?
I've
been asked that by someone that already owns their vessel, but doesn't know that they will use it enough for a whole season and maybe finds that too expensive.
Yeah, so we didn't in the past. We sort of looked at that option for this year as part of this potential. Instead, we chose to bring the price point down a little bit. It was a little exorbitant, in my opinion, over the last few years, and people didn't think that they would, use their vessel enough. So we brought that price point down, so it's about $1 a day. So we're hoping that people will use that long term. A daily permit for that becomes a little challenging because we do require it to be a sticker that's affixed to the vessel. So selling a daily pass to then stick on and take off would be a little cumbersome operationally.
And they couldn't show a pass to the attendant for that day?
A pass that then gets passed and passed and passed, it just becomes a little challenging. And then if we were to do a daily thing like that, we might not have the capabilities down at the cove to do that, and so they'd have to go to the beach house potentially and then transfer all the way down to the other end of the property.
Thanks for answering that.
That makes sense.
Any other questions with respect to the report as presented this evening?
Operationally, was the southernmost end of the South Beach considered as a passive space for use?
Yes, we did talk about kind of the southern side of entrance 4. We felt that it would get confusing a little bit with people that were on South Beach. A lot of times our staff gets, oh, well, you're talking to me about this one thing, but what about them over there? And that sight line and having different people do different things. We felt like in the cove it was a little bit more of a contained area that our staff could keep eyes on, and the separation we felt like was important as well. I know separation is not always great and people feel like we're segregating them, but for our staff and for optics and to be able to express the changes and the differences, we felt like a separate kind of entrance was important for that. But yes, it was a potential option for this. But with multiple people entering in the same space to do different things, it then became potentially challenging for staff to express and for patrons to understand the differences.
What about signage too? What are we thinking for signage?
Yeah, so we are working with our marketing team right now to kind of make all new signage. People felt like, I know a lot of the comments over the past year or 2 years was that we don't have any signage down at the lakefront, when in fact we did. We had a lot, and it said all the things that you needed to do. And so we are strategically moving those to better places at our controlled access points. So that people can better visualize them. We're also putting QR codes so that those signage are in multiple languages. We do have a very robust rule system, and so we won't be able to put all of those or multiple languages on any given sign. So we're using that QR code to translate it similarly to our website where you can translate it into many, many languages. We're utilizing that same feature for our signage this coming season.
But there are pictorial signs, you know.
Correct.
You know, such like the no swimming, you have the slash through it.
Yes.
I mean, those are the. I
We
can't
are
remember what the
utilizing
term is.
both of those things.
I think the publicity of the group pass is, and depending on how you go with the senior pass, I think is going to be very important, and I hope that we're able to really communicate well. I think that will touch a large audience of our users, so.
Yeah, between that and also, you know, last year we did this and we didn't promote it because it was in the middle of the season. So we kept, you know, making changes, as Dave mentioned. Residents who bring a guest, whether it's the main beach or South Beach, they do get the resident rate for that. So I know that in the focus groups, there was a lot of comments about wanting special guest passes or something like that. We do have that. So definitely promoting that along with those other things as well, I think will be definitely beneficial for the community.
And with hearing our marketing report tonight and the statistics with our web use and our social outreach, there's great opportunity to get ahead of that this year. So I can only hope that we will be better informing our residents for sure. Appreciate the answers and the questions. Commissioners, any further discussion? I
just want to thank Dave and Megan for all the work they've put into this. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's really.
For sure.
And team.
Just from
And
that,
Emin and
it's
Connor,
been-
yes,
Yes,
Connor.
and you guys too. Thank
There was
you so
definitely
much.
lots and lots of conversations that we had, you know, listening to the focus group and everything that you brought in that very nice long meeting last time. So there are definitely things that, you know, we want to be flexible on and we want to be able to change. And this proposal is just kind of where we're at right now. With obviously lots and lots of more conversations to be had, but we feel like these are things that operationally we can manage and do well. And that's kind of what we really want for the community, is to be able to express everything and have people come and understand it easily. So.
Thank you. And I will say, I went line by line through the report from the focus groups, looking for every recommendation, and other than removing things back to the way they were, which was obviously a large contingent of the suggestions in that, I found everyone somewhere in a flavor of this. So I see that you guys tried to incorporate that feedback, and we commend that. So thank you.
It's 7.
So we will move on to new business. May I have a motion for 7.1?
Yes, I move to approve surplus ordinance 2025-0-3.
A second.
Any discussion?
Just highlighting that the bids range from 22,000 to 134,000, so I like the lower bid.
It's quite a range this time.
I'm sorry, are we?
Wait a minute, isn't
Oh,
7.1
this
is
is
just.
We're on surplus, sorry, we're not
Oh,
on
I'm
the bids
sorry.
yet. You guys are
I'm one off.
Well,
I'm sorry, I
okay.
jumped the
There is a
gun.
wonderful gator, used
Yes,
gator that we're
thank
going
you.
out on the surplus websites. So you
worries
you
me.
could have a
You said
Wilmette.
100. That was
my
gator.
fault. Yes.
You're right.
You still second it?
I still second it, though, absolutely.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy is absent. Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Now let's talk about planning.
7.1 approved. Thank
Move
you.
to the 7.2. Move to approve the recommendation bid for the planting bed maintenance.
I'll second that one, too.
Would you like some discussion?
No, I've already made my point.
Vote, please.
Just a little prematurely.
Commissioner Murdoch is very excited about this.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy is absent. Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Yeah, 7.3.
I move to approve the recommended bid for the pool water heaters.
I will second.
We'll take a vote.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy is absent. Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Motion approved.
7.4.
I move to approve the paddle volley machine contract.
I
Second.
Discussion. This was an interesting one.
Yeah.
This was a surprise in the packet, but I think it was well explained, and so I appreciate the staff explanation. Any discussion from commissioners? Okay, let's take a vote.
Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy absent. Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Motion approved.
That brings us to 8.0.
All right. I move to adjourn to closed session for the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the district or against legal counsel to determine its validity in accordance with Section 2, C1 of the Open Meetings Act, and for the discussion of the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the Park District, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, as well as the setting of a price for sale or lease of a property owned by a public body in accordance with Sections 2, C5 and 2, C6 of the Open Meetings Act.
A second.
Roll call. Commissioner Leahy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes. All right, we are adjourned to closed session.